Hello, Tanya here from myslope.com, and oh my god, do you hear that? That is the sound of a new launch. So we are launching the open back dress pattern, and if you're watching this, we probably already launched it. So this is your sign to dig in. This tool is going to be perfect for anyone creating a ballroom dress, a lyrical dress, potentially, well, depending on what your concept is, contempt, jazz, anything. You can combine the open back dress pattern with the open back Leo and have a seamless look on the outside. So the one thing about this dress tool is there's no seam at the waist, so it's one piece all together. But yeah, you can combine this with the open back, the one piece leotard, use the same pattern specs, and have a cohesive dress. Okay, also for our ballroom designers. Okay, so let's hop into the overview. So as always, we have our custom size profiles here, and then we have our size envelopes. So we have Missy Curvy, Missy Straight, girls 2 to 20, men's regular. For the demo, I'm gonna use a Missy Curvy size 6 because I just always use that size. And we see that everything has populated. If you've ever used the one piece leotard, it's gonna function the same. The only difference is the skirt aspect of it. So what's nice, and if you've ever used our free circle skirt tool, you're able to manipulate the seams of your skirt in a similar way. So we have the option to adjust the center front seam skirt length, our center back skirt length, and our side seam skirt length. So you can create an asymmetrical skirt look, as well as keeping it very symmetrical. So if you want some extra twirlability. And then for our ballroom ladies, if we really want that asymmetrical look where we have a very dramatic hem that's going down low, let's say on the left side, but then on the right, it's all the way up, you could do that. So let me demo right now with the flare at 50, because we'll get into the flare in a sec, what the hem seam adjustments look like. So let's start with center front seam. We're gonna go with 35, center back seam. We're gonna go with 38. So the beauty of it is we can adjust for that back length to give a little bit extra for the booty. But you know, depending on who you're drafting for, that might not be that much of an issue, but it makes the skirt hem hang more even. And side skirt length, let's keep it at 35. I'm just going to show you what the basic is, and then I'm just going to throw in some default negative ease and hems for you. So if we just move myself out the way, we can see that this hemline is pretty symmetrical. Besides that back adjustment that we did, let's say we want to get a little spicy in the side seams, okay? We can do that. So let's take off about 10 centimeters off that side seam and create that asymmetrical look. Spicy. Okay, if, like I mentioned, for our ballroom designers, if we wanted to, for example, do a full asymmetrical look, so we have that short side seam, let's say on the right side of your body, and you wanted that seam line to go down pretty dramatically, you could do that. So you can take this panel, for example, keep that panel, and then just adjust the side seams again. So let's make it very dramatic. Let's do a 60. Okay, side seam length, let's go 60. And so what you would do is you would take your piece and just flip it. And so, is that correct? Oh, no, that's wrong. You would keep your side seam the same? No, that is right. Yes, that's right. You'd flip it. I'm confusing myself. Yeah, so a lot you can play with here. Adjusting the side seams, the front side seams, create so many different hem looks in one tool. So let's just put it back to our spicy side seam. Let's put it to 20. Let's get real spicy. Next, let's look at, actually no, for the flare, I'm gonna put 35, so that way it makes more sense when we're adjusting the flare. So the flare is based on the hip measurement. If you set it to 0, it's going to be what your negative ease is, so 12, applied to your hip measurement. So 97 is my hip measurement here. So it's gonna be a very form-fitting dress. It's gonna, you know, form fit from your waist down to your hip and then continue on. So, yeah, let me just show you what that looks like. SBC. If we put, so I know with an asymmetrical look, this is more typical with figure skating dresses, but you have it in 2 pieces. So, but if you want an asymmetrical look, you're typically gonna apply a bit of positive ease at the hemline. So let's say 12, our hemline is gonna be 97 on the dot. There's gonna be 0% negative ease. So we're basically offsetting that 12%. So the flare is something you could really play with. So you have your side seam, center front, and center back seam length to play with, and then you have your flare. So as we see, we're getting slightly more flare. It's at 0%, so it's 97. We zoom into our measurement legend here. We see flare percentage, 12%. Our negative ease is, where is the negative ease in here? Reduction ratio is 12, flare percentage is 12, our hip is 97, so we see nothing has been done to it. Now let's get into let's get flirty with the hem. A little flirt. So I set it for 50 as our default. So it's a little bit, but it's not a lot. It's conservative. And we see we get a bit more of a flare, a very light flare. If we want to go full shebang and we really want a lot of volume in the hemline of the skirt, we go to 100. She's got a lot of volume. That is gonna be, it's gonna drape beautifully. So lots to play with, and if you really want to even add even more flare, you could dive in and even increase your hip measurements. Where is it? Here. So you would increase that. But yeah, the hip measurement is what we're basing this off of, so that way you can have that like body shaped dress and then go into an asymmetrical look, and then everything is proportional, like regular pattern drafting. What else is important there? I have had some requests from the ballroom designers for, I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right, godettes. So add it to the list, but this is where we are at right now. There'll definitely be a variation of a tool with that in the future. Okay, so if you've ever used the one-piece leotard, the pattern options work the same. So we have the default strap width, but let's say we wanted to make it the same length as our shoulder. We can do that. And neckline distance above the bust. So that is, we have our bust line here. This is how far above this bust line we want our neckline to hit. So let's say we wanted really to be deep and plungy. We can, neckline, we can set that at 0, and I'm gonna show you what that looks like. Yes. You can use negative numbers, but at a certain point, the tension lines will break. So just be mindful of that, but you can experiment because you can just generate again and again and again and see what you come up with. So let's do 2, -2. This is gonna be more useful. Yeah, so we're breaking the seam line a little bit. Well, also we put a longer strap width, so that's gonna affect our seam line. Let's put it at default, and then you're gonna see we're gonna be able to drop that front seam down a lot lower. Ooh, spicy. So we gotta, oh no, I changed the side seam so it wasn't as spicy, but that front seam is spicy. So depending also, you can manipulate how you want that neckline to look using the strap width, as I kind of did. So if we set that to 6, for example, I didn't do too much. Let's do 8. 8. Kind of, sorta. So that's our front neckline. The back neckline, lots of, if you really want, okay, so I'm saying too many things at once. Let's set this to 2. We're gonna set the strap width to default. Let's do that back neckline. We really want it to be plungy. We can go -10. Let's see what happens. Ooh, baby. A little deep neckline. Look at that. We got our front neckline where it's like, yeah. And then the back, it's like, yeah. And then if we wanted to get a spicy side seam going, let's get that spicy side seam going. Ooh, I like it. So many possibilities, so many options. We got our spicy side seam, we got a deep plunging back neck, we got a pretty, it's still a pretty saucy front neckline. What else? So that is playing with our necklines, our armhole side seam allowance. So if we set this to 100, our armhole is gonna fit exactly where you measure it when you're doing your arm side depth measurement. So it's gonna fit right at your armpit. So if you combine this tool with a sleeve expansion pack and you really want a tight fitting sleeve, because I know that this is something that I've seen, especially in the spandex doesn't scare me group, where we're seeing like, I'm wearing a t-shirt, but you're seeing that gap instead of it being form-fitting where you can like move. A little lacking for you. You would want to set that at 100, so it's close to the armpit and you have that mobility. If you're not going to use sleeves or you are going to use sleeves and you just want to open up the armhole a little bit, you can ease it off. So 0% would be at the bust line, so the apex of the bust is going to be pretty far away from your armpit, the crease of your arm. And it's going to give you the most mobility, for example. So 100 is going to be the closest to your armpit. 0 is going to be the farthest. Et voila. What else do we got going on? We covered strap width, neckline, back neckline, arm, whole side seam percentage. So same thing as the one piece leotard. And then for our main seam allowance will be our shoulder seams, our side seams, and that's it. I separated out the arm and neck hole seam allowance if you want to do binding around the neck hole and the armholes. So you have different seam allowance for that, and the hem seam allowance to give a little extra if you need to hem your skirt. So you know what? I do clean cuts with my Lycra and I don't bother hemming. Curious if anyone else does that. Drop a comment down below. Okay. Let me just show you. Let's do 2 for here. Let's say we're using binding, so we're gonna go E0 to download. So as we see, we have our neckline armhole at 0. We have a little extra on the hemline. And finally, our measurement legend. This is where everything is going to live. I always recommend, measure 3 times. Cut once, measure 3 times, review your measurements twice in the measurement legend so you can see if maybe you put in something funky or something doesn't make sense. And then cut once. And I would recommend downloading your full page and your tiled. Download the full page before the tiles. Like when you're creating a puzzle, you look at what it's supposed to look like, and you don't want to download the tiles and then configure everything and then see that something is looking not right. So I always recommend downloading both. And then I all in the same breath, get a projector. Yes, get a projector. That open source software, projector sewing, our PDFs are compatible with projector sewing. Maybe I drop a link down below, but compatible. So that is good. Or you can use Adobe Illustrator, whatever your setup is. Yeah, let's hop into the measurement legend. As always, we have our integration key down here. So we have our front arm side seam length and our back arm side length. This is for the sleeve expansion pack. When you use the sleeve expansion pack, you're gonna drop in these values here and the sleeve is gonna fit seamlessly into your dress, which is amazing. Your front and back neck hole length, you can use the collar tool. If you wanna do like a mock neck, depending on how you wanna construct it, you can either separate your pieces into front and back, or you could just do it all in one go and use the total neck hole length. That's personally what I do, but I'm giving you options, and then you would add in your seam allowance in the tool. So the dress tool is compatible with 2 other MySlope tools to really expand 3, because you have the one piece leotard. So if you wanted to, bag your seams, so bag your neck hole seam, bag your armhole seam, and then have that dress that is, you got the bottoms going and everything is, concealed and connected, you can do that. And then you can throw in the collar tool and that's 4 tools that it connects with. Okay, so any questions, let me know. Please do not hesitate. If you find a bug, please let me know. As always, there's the chat down below if anything goes wonky, unless I am sleeping or always when I'm about to eat or drink coffee. There's something goes wrong, but I will always answer unless I am unconscious. So yeah, looking forward to seeing what you guys create with this tool. I'm very excited. And if it's not on the stage, on the ice, I don't know where else, stage and ice, and just to do a selfish sew for the summertime, that I want to see what you sew.